So a teacher has been fired for using the wrong pronouns, right? Imagine that, fired for misgendering. What a crazy situation we are. Literally being put into the fictional pronoun jail that Jordan Peterson warned us about. Apart from the fact that none of that is true, right? This teacher wasn't fired for misgendering. If you actually look at what happened in this case, there's a teacher called Joshua Sutcliffe. And the actual story about what happened here is that he did misgender someone at school, right? And so smart news organizations are saying teacher fired after misgendering child at school. But that was not the reason why they were fired or why they were let go from the school. There's nothing to do with the fact specifically that they misgendered this student. This is what precipitated a further discussion and a further debate and a further set of things that he did afterwards that then led to him being fired. Okay? Let's have a look at the BBC article, which actually seems to be telling the truth for once, rather than trying to tell us that he was fired for misgendering, because that's a lie. That's a straight up lie. The media is lying to you about this. So many media organizations have lied about this. Like, I have 2 segments to watch here, and one of them is literally says banned over pronouns. This teacher was banned from profession for using the wrong pronoun. So multiple outlets have just straight up lied about this from the offset, right? This is the BBC have gone with the slightly more reasonable title. I can't believe the BBC on this one, by saying Oxford transgender row teacher banned from profession. And what I find quite amusing about this is that the Teaching Regulation Authority or agency is called the TRA. So it was literally got cancelled by the TRAs, which I think is quite funny. So this guy did misgender a transgender pupil at school, and was then on a it was when he was on a This Morning segment where he discussed the student, where he basically outed the student in total, which is against safeguarding rules. That was the main thing that he did that led to the situation in the first place. They also upheld a number of allegations, which included pupils at Islington School being shown a video about masculinity that claimed men in today's society were not masculine enough, and found that he expressed views to pupils on the wrongfulness of equal marriage and homosexuality. And we will come to those views later, right? We will be scrutinizing his views because, my God, expressing views on the wrongfulness of equal marriage and homosexuality is only fucking scratching the surface, is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this man's views on homosexuality and sex outside of marriage, for example, loads of different things. This guy is buck wild, and you will watch it later. I promise. Stick around for that. He said that it was a slip of the tongue when misgendering, but now he's clear that he's gone, in a lot of interviews he's done now, he's gone full-throated behind the fact that he should have all this right to misgender with complete impunity. The panel upheld the allegations and found he failed to treat people with dignity or build relationships rooted in mutual respect, and he failed to have regard for the need to safeguard the people's well-being. This is the main thing, like the lack of treating people with dignity and essentially flouting all safeguarding restrictions by outing one of the students at school. But he got interviewed on fucking Piers Morgan Uncensored. And this segment, I've watched bits and pieces of this come up on like TikTok and shit like that. And this little segment that he did with Piers Morgan is so eye-opening as to why we're in this position in the first place for both Piers Morgan and this person as well. So let's watch.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Joshua Sutcliffe was a maths teacher at the School in Oxford. That was until one lesson in 2017 when he praised a group of female students on their hard work. Well, one of the girls identifies as a transgender boy. And this week, in the first case of its kind in the UK, Joshua Sutcliffe was banned from every classroom in England for not using the pupils.
The Daily Mail headline they've just published there, literally just a lie, saying they were banned for misgendering. That's not what happened.
Preferred pronouns. Mr. Sutcliffe said he apologised immediately and is being persecuted because of his Christian beliefs, and he joins me now. Well, thank you for coming on, Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Thank you, Piers.
Just tell me exactly what happened.
Well, it was the TRA hearing in recent months, and the principal reason that they banned me from every classroom in the UK, as you mentioned, was for refusing to use the pronouns that a particular student wanted to.
So what did you actually say? You called...
I mean, it's easy for him to lie about it because he's the one trying to get away with it, right? He's just looking out for his own self-interest. Whereas the journalists are explicitly lying because they want to be able to further an anti-trans narrative, right? So if anything, I would say the journalists are even more to blame for this kind of cavalcade of mistruth than fucking this guy is.
The group girls?
Yeah, it was two girls at the front of the class, and one of them identified as a boy. And I agree with the policy exchange report recently released by the government, where it says that...
Well, that's interesting. It's interesting that you in the chat, Donny, say that ask if he's done any interviews with left-wing organisations because he hasn't. And then it might be a case of him getting money from the right-wing news and him being paid to portray things in a manner that suits their narrative. It's interesting that he is so in the know about all of this that he knows the specific policy exchange paper, the far-right think tank that commissioned a famous TERF to write a report, which was actually given a foreword by Labour MP Rosie Duffield, no less, around how trans people should be treated in school. It's interesting that he knows all about that. He's so in the know that he knows already about this opaque think tank and the kind of work they've done around trans stuff. It shows you how in on the stuff he is, whether or not that's because of it's an ideological thing for him or because, he's part of this whole kind of this kind of grifter industrial complex around anti-trans issues. Because I don't know, I couldn't speculate, but it doesn't change the fact that it's basically all fucking lies.
We're letting down a generation of young people, affirming them in these, dispositions. In the UK, you need a gender recognition certificate, and that is post-18. And so it really is a serious issue, and it's affecting schools across the nation. And so
we're seeing a lot of kids now identifying as something other than their biological sex. What do you think of that phenomenon?
Well, I think it's really something our society should be taking much more seriously. It's a path, these students go down a path of taking very strong drugs and surgery.
No, not necessarily, right? Only usually ones who identify as one of the binary genders that end up taking puberty blockers and then go on in adulthood to then have transgender medication, for example, right? You have to be actually not be a child to get things like gender confirmation surgery in the UK. If it's before the age of 16, it's just puberty blockers. That's the only thing. Right? The actual transition stuff comes after that. And even then, if it's actual surgery, you have to be 18. And even then, it's very rare, very, very rare cases that even happens then, especially considering the NHS waiting list, right? Most people I know have to go to Thailand to get it done.
And it's something that shouldn't be so quickly brought into classrooms across the country. And it's happening everywhere, as you've seen in the news reports, not just for me, but for other teachers.
So you called these two students girls. One of them was a transgender boy by her own, or his own definition, whichever you want to say it, right? This is at a time, 5-6 years ago, when this issue wasn't anywhere near as prevalent as it is now. Did you realise immediately this might be a...
It's almost like it was never a social contagion. It's always been something that's just kind of had the ability to be able to naturally plateau where it should be, were there not huge amounts of stigma against trans people stopping them from coming out. And all of this right-wing fucking belly aching over it is entirely the fault of a media apparatus that seeks to demonise these people and use them as a culture war football. Strange that.
Problem?
I wasn't really savvy. I didn't know about the issue as we've come to know about it. And, but at the time, with my Christian convictions, I thought it an appropriate stance to, just use the student's name.
And what happened to you?
The school sort of took a case against me, and it's ended out all the way at the...
What were you accused of doing?
Accused of using the wrong pronouns.
Literally?
Literally, yeah. Accused of...
No, not going to mention the safeguarding issues. All the stuff you did with trying to tell all the children that men need to be more masculine at school. All the stuff that we literally know now in the BBC report that was referenced in this very segment on Piers Morgan. It's crazy how Piers Morgan's just like, yeah, I'm not going to research it. I'm not going to read the articles about this. I'm not going to have a look and see. I'm just going to bring him on the show and uncritically accept every word that he says.
Of using the wrong pronouns. And that was actually the...
Then I guess that shows Piers Morgan's kind of thorough approach to journalism that he's so well known for, right? I guess if he could have hacked Mr. Sutcliffe's phone, he might have wanted to get some information outside there. But just reading a newspaper article, that's far too much effort.
The principal reason that the Department of Education used against me, that I refused to use the pronouns. So really quite a shocking...
I can't believe, right, given my religious conviction of wanting to see Piers Morgan pelted with tomatoes in the middle of Regent's Park, completely against his will and enforced by the state, right? I can't believe I said that in the classroom and ended up losing my job, right? It's fucking political correctness gone mad. Think of my religious rights to see Piers Morgan pelted with tomatoes in Regent's Park. Really, it's fucking, it's the woke mob. Woke mob come to get me and my religious beliefs that I strictly adhere to.
And sad day for myself personally, but even for England,
I mean, the argument that was put forward against you was that you should treat all pupils with dignity and respect, and if they're identifying in a different way, then you should feel mandated to do that.
Well, I think the safeguarding of the pupil is paramount in this situation, and if you affirm these students in their gender identity, then that could lead them down a path that maybe one day they will regret. And, maybe it's something that...
They can't even justify any of the harm in what the thing that they're doing, right? They have to say, well, actually, I know that it's rude of me to use the wrong pronouns, but I have been forced to use the wrong pronouns for this person, lest they be pushed down this dangerous medical path that's being forced upon them by the trans lobby, which is where all this kind of conspiracy shit comes from, right? They know full well that misgendering and using the wrong pronouns it's rude as fuck, right? Doesn't matter whether or not you think it should be mandated or not. Obviously, free speech and all that, but it doesn't make it not rude. It doesn't mean that people can't take action against you. It doesn't mean that you can't come at heads with your employer about it, for example. In the same way, these people would take similar positions around, it's political correctness gone mad that I should be kicked out from lunch with my girlfriend because I called her parents the C word 1,000 times in the evening, right? Yeah, because you're being an idiot, you're being rude, and people don't want to be around you. Very simple as that. It's social exclusion based upon your inability to be able to read the social contract.
We should think about, leaving for adults to decide rather than such young students.
It's almost like, right, the only time they ever get put onto a medical pathway, Josh, is if they get clearance to do so from multiple medical professionals. Wow, I can't believe that we like adults be able to decide. But of course, he doesn't believe in medical science because of his fundamentalist beliefs, and he believes that fundamentally that children are the property of their parents, and the parents should have the final word. Outside of, I don't know, having things be judged based on their utility and based on what the medical science recommends at that time, which at the moment is that transgender healthcare is positive for both mental and physical health outcomes for transgender people.
I'm going down this path.
See, on this, I'm kind of sympathetic to what you're saying about that issue, that the pronoun misgendering and so on, with so many kids now following what I think in most cases is just a fad. Why should people have to change?
Also, there's no evidence for this being a fad. There's no evidence for it being social contagion. Multiple different studies have come out disproving the Lippmann study, which was already a bunk study to begin with. So, everyone's, it's a fad stuff. It's based off no data and it's just vibes. It's just gut feeling. There's no evidence for this.
Change their language to accommodate what seems to be just a fad. The complication, I think, in your case, is that you have very strong Christian beliefs, or I would say beliefs that pertain to your religion. Would you accept that?
I accept that, Piers, yeah.
So you have 4 abominations on your website, for example.
Yes.
Abortion, homosexuality, porn, and Islam.
Yes.
You call them abominations.
Yes.
Is it right? I mean, when I read that, I was like, hang on. Is it right that any teacher should be teaching kids if they call those 4 things abominations?
Well, you understand, Piers, those things happened outside of the classroom. That's my own personal...
This guy's like a street preacher. This guy goes around like shouting his like absolutely deranged nonsense in the street at people about how they're going to be saved. They can only be saved by giving up their abominable practices of Islam and getting extramarital affairs and being gay. So yeah, literally proper theocratic fascist. Like it's a balding Matt Walsh.
That.
Yeah,
understand that. But in one case, it was cited that you had, for example, on the issue of gay marriage, you'd said to kids in the class that it should be between a man and woman.
Yeah, a student asked me about my conviction, and that was what I said, that marriage should be between a man and a woman. But, the Bible very clearly describes many things as sinful and as not good things for us. And
well, the Bible also tells you to stone people for various offences, and we don't do that anymore. I mean, the point is...
Well, we all deserve...
I mean, look, I'm a Catholic, but I wouldn't use language like these are all abominations.
And that maybe you should, Piers. It's almost like, the idea of the kind of rule sets that get prescribed by fundamentalist religion are completely inconsistent and incoherent and were written by a bunch of desert-dwelling scribes 2,000 years ago and shouldn't really be used as the moral basis for the entirety of society when we have clearly evolved philosophically from that point, right? If you want to have a relationship, spirituality with God, not take religious doctrine as gospel and use it just as a guidebook, fine, good. I'm happy for you to do that, right? This kind of, this moral dogmatism that gets prescribed by fundamentalism is just toxic for society. And I think Piers basically knows this, but, wonder how many catechisms Piers Morgan is going to violate by the end of this interview. He's already wearing clothes of different kinds of fabric.
Particularly when a lot of people in this country are now gay, obviously. You think that that's abominable.
Yes.
And that's fine. It's your prerogative to have that opinion. But there will be people who think, well, hang on, these are pretty hardcore views of someone who wants to teach young children.
I understand that people might disagree with me, Piers, but that's a pretty orthodox Christian view to think that these things are sinful and not good.
I don't know any Christians who say Islam is an abomination.
No, Islam is an Abrahamic religion. It's basically the same, right? They differ on very minor points, but the broad thrust of Islamic and Christian theology is all based from the same shit, right? Come on.
I mean, I know some, but they're not. It's not orthodox.
Well,
that's not orthodox Christian teaching.
Of course, it's standard Christian teaching, to not agree with Islam, and to.
Not that it's an abomination, another religion. There's respect for Islam.
Well, I respect Muslims very much, Piers, but
you don't. You call their religion an abomination.
We must separate ideas from people, Piers.
Well, hang on. Listen, on
And
your
that's why conservative ideology just fails. Right? You can't separate ideas from people. I mean, you literally cannot separate ideas from people, right? This guy's wrong. He thinks you can. You absolutely cannot. Like, if someone has awful opinions, then that's going to make them an awful person. I'm sorry. Like, what else do you want me to say from the kind of views that this guy says? Which, believe me, you think this is wacky, it gets even wackier.
website, you say Islam is an abomination. That's not respecting a religion.
Well,
it's the opposite of respecting a religion.
No, I disagree very much with Islam, Piers.
That's fine. It's entirely your prerogative. I'm just saying that if you want to be a teacher, is it compatible with being a teacher to have a personal website which lists a series of abominations, including the right to be gay, the right to have an abortion, legal pornography, Islam, another massive religion with 1.5 billion people? It just seems to me if I was a parent at that school and I read that on your website, I would be concerned.
Well, I think it's up to...
I mean, at least this guy only had influence over like a class of 30 kids, unlike Matt Walsh, who has an audience of millions.
Parents to look these things up if they want to, but all parents that I've had interactions with would say that I'm a very respectable man and always did the job at hand. But I think in our free society, you'd think that I'd be able to share those things outside the classroom.
You now go into the street and you talk. Let's watch a little clip of what you do.
That there is one way into heaven. His name is Jesus Christ. This is an urgent plea with your spirit, man. I'm not just talking to your minds. I'm talking to your spirit, to your heart, that you might be awoken from the death of this generation, that you might be shaken out of the depths of darkness and into the glorious light of the kingdom of God.
Right. I wonder, right, just as a thought experiment, chat, I wonder how many people have genuinely been moved to a different religion because they've been shouted at by a street preacher. I'm guessing the number is incredibly low. It seems like the least effective way of bringing people to your cause is to fucking irritate them in the middle of their peaceful day in the sunshine. Seems to me like a little bit kind of counterintuitive as a method of conversion. Maybe that's just me.
I mean, again, I'm not sure I'd feel that comfortable about having a teacher of my young kid who's out there doing that every weekend.
It's pretty orthodox Christian beliefs that I'm...
It's fine, but you're a teacher out there basically...
I mean, is evangelical Christianity orthodox? Evangelism is a pretty new thing, right? If I'm not very much mistaken, the evangelical Christian tradition is only a very recent one, surely?
Ranting away on the street. It wouldn't lend itself to most parents to think that that is entirely compatible with teaching kids.
Well, you'd have to see me in the classroom, Piers. I'm a good practitioner.
When were you last in a classroom?
Unless I'm not a good practitioner when it comes to, I know, safeguarding rules, perhaps, the things that you broke. that were the reason why you got banned and nothing to do with the misgendering?
3 or 4 years ago now.
Do you want to teach again?
I'd love to teach again. I enjoy teaching. My dad's a teacher, and
What does your dad make of all this?
he supports me. Yeah. Yeah.
Does he agree with all your views?
Well, he's a Christian himself, Piers. He was an RE.
Yeah.
He was an RE teacher for 30 years.
But does he agree that all these things are abominations? For
Well,
example?
Piers, this is biblical teaching. It shouldn't be a surprise to you or anyone else.
No, the offence that he got banned for was in 2017 when he was on This Morning and violated safeguarding rules. But the way the time it's taken for it to go through the TRA only got resolved recently.
No, but like I said, the Bible also teaches people to stone people to death, but we don't do that in
that's the
civilized places anymore.
That's the penalty for sin, Piers. But Jesus.
So for adultery, you would.
Jesus died on the
Well,
cross
just to
in
clarify,
our
then,
place.
for adultery, you think it's right to stone people to death,
I think that
as they do in Saudi Arabia, for example. Do you?
all sin deserves.
Islam not looking particularly abominable now, given that you and them both agree, apparently, according to Piers, in the stoning to death of adulterers.
The death penalty. And Jesus.
So adultery is a sin?
Let me finish, please.
Hang on. Is adultery a sin?
It's an important point.
Is adultery a sin?
Jesus died on the cross for sinners. He
Is it?
He took the place.
Joshua,
of
is
sin.
adultery a sin?
Yes.
So you want to execute everyone who's committed adultery?
All sin, all 613
Do you?
commandments, all sin is punishable by death.
Right. Joshua, that's nuts, mate.
And that's what the Bible
And that's the
teaches,
problem, you see.
Piers.
You
I mean,
start.
yeah, if it's nuts, Piers, then stop believing it. Why are you a Catholic if you think this shit is nuts? At least Mr. fucking fundamentalist over here has the guts to actually follow through with the dogmatic nature of the scripture that he follows.
Off, you had me at the start. You had me about the pronoun issue because I think it's incredibly complicated. And I don't see. I also have a big concern about a number of kids who are basically putting their hands up saying, I'm a woman, I'm a girl, I'm a boy when they're not, and so on. But this stuff is nuts, mate. If you're going to say that every.
It's interesting as well. Like, that's where the line is, right? And this is why they focus on trans people, because they want to divide trans people from the range of the LGBTQ community. Because once trans people are the people who are once the bulwark for trans people gets pushed over by the anti-trans mob, right? They're going to come for gay people. They're going to come for abortion. They're going to come for all this shit. The theocratic fascists will mow down all the hard-won progressive rights over the last 50 years, for example, or 100 years even. Considering the amount of which no-fault divorce is next on the chopping block for the theocratic fascists in the United States, right? And this is when Piers Morgan goes, well, I agree with you about, fucking over trans people, but now you talk about fucking over gay people, well, that offends my sensibilities. So well, yeah, do you not think there may be something into that? Why does your line stop at trans people, Piers? Why are trans people acceptable ire in your eyes? Why is it that gay people are a bridge too far, but it's fine to attack trans people?
Everyone who's a sinner by the rule of the Bible has to be killed. There's no one left.
Deserves the judge.
There's only you left, and I don't feel comfortable about a world with only Joshua Sutcliffe alive.
Don't be silly. I am the worst of sinners, Piers.
Well, why are you still alive?
Because Christ has died for sinners.
Huh?
He took the place.
Yeah, but by your yardstick, you should be executed.
Yes, I should be.
Who by?
God, he's the judge of all.
No, but you're gonna go and submit yourself for execution, or?
No, but Jesus is. It's called penal substitution.
Huh?
It's called. It's a theological point.
It's Joshua. It's nuts. mate.
It's the substitution of Christ for sinners, Piers.
Joshua, it's nuts.
And
And
I'm sorry that
unfortunately,
you feel that
when
way.
you talk that way, it disqualifies you in my eyes from being a teacher. Not the pronoun stuff. On that, I'm with you. On this stuff,
Literally, I am with you on the pronoun. I know you want to execute gay people. I know that you think that all gay people deserve to die, right? But, at least you're right about the pronoun stuff. Put 2 and 2 together, Piers, you thick twat. Because he almost certainly thinks the same thing about transgender people. Literally. Like all these views that he holds about gay people, he holds the same thing for trans people. But you're very happy to entertain him when he's talking about, well, I won't use the right pronouns, for example, when you know full well that is, part and parcel of the fact that he thinks that anybody out who's not straight should be, quite frankly, executed in your own words. And he's like, I'm happy to ally with you on this kind of stuff, right? But woe betide me if I ever go down the fucking executing gay people route that you clearly believe in. Like, come on, Piers, look at the kind of views this man have, and then realise the kind of people that you're allying with as an allyship of convenience in your specific desire to make life as bad for trans people as possible. It's literally what there's like the moment in The Simpsons where Homer Simpson votes for Sideshow Bob, where he's just like, well, I don't agree with his Bart killing policy, but I do approve of his Patty and Selma killing policy. That's literally the point that you're at here, Piers, right?
It's nuts.
But we should be in a free society, Piers.
Totally. And you're, by the way, allowed to have as many nutty views as you like. I just don't think...
nutty in your opinion. I think your opinion is nutty.
In 99% of the entire planet, your views are nutty.
In your world, maybe, but not
People
in the
don't
world
think
at
that
large,
everyone who
Piers.
commits adultery should be executed tomorrow.
No. This is what the Bible teaches.
Greed, gluttony, all those things.
Sin is sin, Piers.
So anyone's
And we
greedy
all
gets
fall
executed.
short.
Anyone who's gluttonous gets executed. Have too many
Christ took the
donuts.
place.
Joshua Sutcliffe says you wheeled off to the
This is what the Bible teaches.
to be put to death.
And this isn't really being taught in our generation.
No, there's a reason it's not taught in our generation.
But Christ
It's
is
completely
the perfect sacrifice for sin.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
and it is incredible that there's an interview here where Piers is being something approaching the voice of reason, but of course that all gets completely undermined by the fact that he's like, yeah, I know you're a nutcase. I know that your views are completely ridiculous, but I'm happy to agree with you when it comes to being shitty to trans people, which again he also wants to execute.
No, Jesus Christ did sacrifice himself, but you don't think Jesus Christ would be sitting here today at my desk saying every single person who commits an act of greed or gluttony or adultery should be summarily executed. If you do think that, you have a very warped idea of what actually the Bible is supposed to mean.
No, I think what's
At least there might be some people who will watch this, right? Even if Piers is paying tacit support for the anti-trans shit, at least by having this discussion where Piers just completely dismisses all his other views as being completely nonsensical, there might be people in the audience who will take this to mean, maybe these anti-trans people aren't the people that I should be listening to, right? Maybe the anti-trans people are also these kind of nutcases like this Joshua Sutcliffe person. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the line. And even if Piers won't actually oppose the kind of shit that he says about trans people, the fact that he is trying to completely undermine all of his opinions by calling him a complete nutcase, which of course he is, that might lead to some people who are viewing this to maybe re-examine their biases on this issue. But it's just a hope.
happened is you've got your own view of what the Bible says, but you haven't really ever been told what the Bible says.
I've read the Bible. I was actually given spiritual guidance by Catholic nuns when I was 11 years old for a couple of years. So I'm very, very, very savvy with the Bible. But honestly, when I hear people say that for all these sins you've got to be put to death, it's nuts. So for that, you shouldn't be teaching.
Well, Christ has taken our place, Piers, and I think
Well, the thing is as well is that saying something is nutty isn't actually an argument, right? It's the same way that saying that something is common sense is not an argument. Because what is nuts and what is common sense will mean loads of different things to loads of different people. As this guy mentioned in the interview, well, I think you're nuts for not holding my views, right? These are completely...
I'm literally a communist.
Hey, thank you for joining the stream today, Alan. Because again, it's all relative terms, right? What's common sense to one person will be nutty to the other, and vice versa. So trying to use this as some kind of yardstick for what should be acceptable views or not is completely pointless. It's completely useless as far as having any kind of constructive debate is concerned. You have to argue based upon utility, and of course, there's no utility in executing people for things that are, quite frankly, not wrong. They don't do anything. They have no bad outcomes. So why should you punish people for them? That's what's nutty. That's what should be condemned here. But just saying it's nuts is not an argument.
I should be.
Well, unfortunately, someone from YMCA is about to take your place on the show, I'm afraid, and that's it. But good to see you.
All right.
Thank you, Joshua Sutcliffe.
What about the comments are like on this one? Actually, all of the comments are agreeing with the fucking execute the gays guy. Right, they're all defending him. I can't believe this shit. This is crazy. That's wild. He did it. Well, I'm not going to stop there, folks. We have another. He got interviewed on Times Radio, which, you know, they're obviously also incredibly anti-trans. But we can, you know, and there might be someone who has a little bit more incisive question other than just calling the guy nuts from Times Radio. I'm not holding my breath, but let's have a look.
So how did this happen then? Tell us what happened 6 years ago.
Yes, well, it was in the press at that time, and as you mentioned in your intro, I refused to use the pronouns of a transgender student, but I did treat that student with dignity and respect, and that came out in the TRA hearing in recent months. That I was, I conducted myself as a professional and so on. But this Stonewall training was used by the Teaching Regulation Agency as something that I should have gone along with, and for not going along with it.
Okay, he's clearly an op, right? I know Donnie Marco in chat was speculating about this guy just being in league with all the grifters. 100% confirmed now. When he talks about the Stonewall guidance, the clear fucking unifying thing about all these anti-trans people is they want Stonewall out of every single affiliated position that they have, specifically because Stonewall want people to be trans inclusive, right? There's a big tell that this guy's part of the kind of the grifter industrial complex and not just some guy, right? Or at least maybe in the last 6 years he's been caught up in the grifter industrial complex. And maybe at the time, right, he was just being a dickhead to the kids that he was teaching. But it's also very likely as well now, from just bringing that piece up, that he clearly has been getting in with all the other stuff since he talked about policy exchange and Stonewall. It's clear to me that it's just another one of the people who's been indoctrinated into the remainder of the kind of online ecosphere of anti-trans people and the kind of rehash and continually repeated talking points that you get from all of them.
Very sadly, I found myself banned from the teaching profession. So you can imagine I'm heartbroken about this ruling. But we will be looking to appeal with the Christian Legal Centre at the High Court, because it's obviously quite a contentious issue. It's not a done deal. I do think,
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, was this child? It was the child was born a girl, but she, as born, was identifying as a boy. Do we know actually?
Times Radio won't even use the fucking right pronoun.
That this child is a trans child, or was it someone who's just fluid, who's just experimenting with identity? Do we know any I don't want any identity. I don't want to say who it is, but was this definitely a trans child? Were you told that in advance? How was this presented to you as an issue?
Well, I did have just a small word with a colleague from the class that this student came.
And Times Radio, again, not done any of the fucking research. It's like, let's grab this guy on, let him spray his completely unfiltered opinions. When no scrutiny or pushback, and not even learn the real case of the issue here, so that he can lie and we won't even pull him up on the fucking lies. Again, not that I should expect anything from Times Radio, considering it's the fucking Murdoch media. Of course, they're not going to have any kind of balanced reporting on this shit.
But like you say, some students can be gender fluid. There's a whole range of things, and it's not, actually in law until you get a gender recognition certificate post 18.
Yeah.
So as far as the student was concerned, she was born a girl, and so the truth of the matter was she was a girl. But I was still willing to accommodate the student and try to avoid the pronouns, but that wasn't enough.
And did you end up using? Because it's very. We've all tried to avoid using pronouns sometimes when we don't know someone's preferred pronouns. It's very difficult to do. Did you end up just using a pronoun? Is that how it came out in the end?
Well, that was what came out in the press.
And this is why people get so. This is why everyone goes, oh, "Why are we asking people with pronouns? Why have you got your pronouns in their bio?" Explicitly to avoid this situation, Mr. Times Radio man. Right? The literal reason why we have pronouns in bio, or we ask people to state their pronouns, is literally so that that you don't have to fucking guess. It's a really simple procedure that takes less than a second and solves all of the issues that you take with this.
Is that I said well done girls to just her and her friend, and that was the thing that was complained about and used by the TRA. Actually, that was really one of the principal things of their case against me was the Freudian slip, you might say.
So you've been banned for life from teaching, for more or less, for saying the phrase "well done girls."
I mean, more or less is doing a lot of heavy lifting when, of course, no, that's not what he was banned for. And Times just not bothered researching this before having the guy on. Yeah, it's journalistic integrity fucking in the binge. Like, you you're banned for misgendering, were you? Well, I will believe this completely without question and have not bothered looking up the real reason before conducting this entire fucking interview.
Yes, I mean, I did. That was the TRA's case. There was a few other things that they found against me. I spoke about marriage. A student asked me about the Christian view of marriage, and I shared that the Christian view is that it's between a man and woman for life. And there was another, there was an allegation that I'd shown a video speaking about men being responsible and taking responsibility, which I refute that I showed it in the lesson, but that the mere allegation of such a thing was enough for the TRA to
But
make this ruling.
well, here's the thing though, Joshua. That maybe I wonder if you might be able to recognise this. That you're a maths teacher. Is that right?
Yes, of course, a maths teacher.
So
Yeah.
one question would be, if you're a maths teacher, why are you talking about your beliefs in religion at all to any pupils? That your job is to teach maths, it's not to teach morality or to have a view about that. So is that not something you might want to hold your hands up and say, if I just stuck to teaching maths, that's what my job was?
Well,
A real question. We got an actual question, unlike what Piers Morgan was doing. Find an actual scrutiny of the position. I mean, you're not going to actually research it and find out the real reason why he was struck off, which was, again, breaking safeguarding restrictions. But no, at least you're actually properly scrutinising the fact that he was trying to indoctrinate his own kids, but, hey, or the kids he was teaching.
I did stick to teaching maths in the maths classroom, and I ran Bible clubs, and I would speak with students about religious matters in appropriate forums, and I was at a Christian school, the second school I was at, so we spoke about Christian teachings and things. So I was in the classroom for 7 years. It came out in the evidence that I was a good teacher and treated students with dignity and respect. I mean, like I say, the principal argument against me was the refusing to use the pronouns. And
He wasn't even talking about religion in the maths lesson. He was talking about the need for men to be more masculine, which is very strange.
refusing to go along with the Stonewall training, which was given by the school where that incident occurred.
Yeah, what about the argument, Joshua, that this person is
And again,
going?
it's really interesting, right? How this guy is getting reprimanded for introducing his ideology, for example, into a position where it wasn't even warranted. Yet that's what the rightoids are saying about the fact that kids in like PSHE classes, for example, are being taught that being gay and being trans is fine and the science behind it, for example. And they're saying that that is indoctrination. But as soon as some fucking religious nutbar comes down and says, well, actually, I'm going to implement my ideology, not even in PHSE, but in maths lessons, for example, suddenly, we've got to give people space to be able to talk about their ideology. Which is it? Are teachers allowed to talk about their ideology, or are they not allowed to talk about their ideology? Make your fucking mind up, guys.
In a difficult time, might be fluid, might be experimenting, might be going through all sorts of things in their life. And actually, they just want their teacher to just back them up a bit. And if this person says, I want to be called he for now, could you not in your heart have said, well, maybe that will help them if I go along with that. I'll just do that to help that person. Whatever my beliefs might be, this might be the kind thing to do.
Well, I don't think it's kind, actually. I think that it's a very dangerous path where you take powerful drugs. It might be that you take...
Again, he can't defend the fact that he's being rude to people, so he has to fucking catastrophize about the potential future for life-altering drugs. That's all they have. Because they know they're being balanced. They know they're being rude. They know they're being nasty to the children for basically no reason. They have to find some other kind of chop logic way of saying, hang on a minute. No. If I use this pronoun, that'll mean they'll definitely end up on estrogen or testosterone at age fucking 9.
I'm literally a communist.
Like, that's what they'll say. They'll say, "Ooh, well, that's the only defense they have for these actions is them saying, well, actually, no. If I pronoun these people correctly, that guarantees them a pathway towards transgender surgery. He knows he's being rude. When the real reason why he's not misgendering the kids correctly is because it breaks his gender metaphysics, right? That's what all of this is. It is all just metaphysics at the end of the day. They fundamentally believe in this kind of the essence of manhood and womanhood that are imparted upon you when you have your gender assigned at birth. And by people expressing their gender outside of that, that breaks the gender metaphysics that their religion implies upon them. And so they feel like, stepping out of the side of these gender metaphysics is fundamentally wrong prima facie. And so by acknowledging that, by using the right pronouns, they feel like that is something that is immoral. nothing really to do with whether or not there's something to do with, oh, you might end up going down the wrong pathway. No, it just breaks the metaphysics.
You have surgery and
You can't have surgery as a child. I mean, the point is the point where someone just says "call me a he." It's just a question of terminology, isn't it?
well, it's important though. What is true, and like I say, you're encouraging these students to go down a really dangerous, and really serious path. And I don't think
You're not doing that by using pronouns. Explain to me how you using the pronouns is going to put them on gender cross-sex hormones. That's what I was looking for.
in our society we're taking it serious enough, to just.
I think he is a control freak, but I don't think it's his control freakery that's getting behind this stuff. I think it's his fundamental moral belief that you cannot break the gender metaphysics by using the wrong, even just by using the wrong pronouns, and that it is a moral injury upon somebody else by acknowledging that somebody might lie outside of those gender metaphysics that you fundamentally believe is a moral core of the part of the Judeo-Christian tradition. That's the reason why Jordan Peterson doesn't like it. Jordan Peterson hates that it breaks the gender metaphysics.
Not the kind thing to do. I actually disagree with you. I mean, I was happy to refuse using pronouns. I thought that was an appropriate, compromise. But I think that the issue was that the student knew about the Bible Club and my beliefs, and so took issue against me just as a person, rather not really against my conduct in the classroom.
And are you going to appeal? You mentioned that. Are you going to see if you can teach again, or is it for you?
Well, I'd love to, and I enjoy teaching.
And yeah, I think he with that kind of thought experiment around the idea of if a machine could literally change all the cells in your body to be the opposite sex, and you would just become the opposite sex immediately through this kind of fictional machine, they ultimately would not accept them as the opposite gender, because again, that's not the kind of they believe in sexed souls, essentially, right? That again, it all comes down to metaphysics. Oh, he almost certainly loves Jordan Peterson, obviously, because Jordan Peterson loves his theology, right? He's big on his theology. Even if though Jordan Peterson might not say he's a Christian, he still loves the theological aspect to it. This guy clearly has shown an aptitude for. But also Jordan Peterson's big on the whole men being masculine, women being feminine. This whole, again, the gender metaphysics of what you should be doing based upon your sex assignment, for example, and is also incredibly anti-trans, probably for the same metaphysical reasons.
My dad's a teacher, and I enjoy helping people learn, and I enjoy the profession. I'd say it's vocational for me, but obviously my reputation's on the line, and I will appeal. We myself and the Christian Legal Centre are appealing at the High Court, and we're hoping that
his idea that lobsters organize themselves into hierarchies, so then humans must therefore organize themselves into hierarchies, is essentially just like fucking animal metaphysics, right? This belief in the natural nature of hierarchies amongst all of nature that cannot ever be undone. Else you're breaking away from the biological metaphysics of the nature of humanity.
This is like a test case, and we're hoping that the government takes action. I mean, that the government goes along with what's the truth, and it makes gives some clear guidance on these issues, because there aren't just Christians who are concerned about this. As our society at large is concerned about this issue, and it's important that we, I would say, hold to the truth and maybe don't affirm
and
these
again,
students.
And that's the problem with religious moral philosophy, is that their viewpoint on epistemology is such that nothing can ever counteract the religious text and be true, right? They have a very specific religious epistemology that can never be challenged, it can never be questioned. And so it's impossible to be able to find a reason based upon utility based on anything else, because they subscribe to a moral and epistemological dogma that they can never break out of, right? And I think that we've spent too much time on the left trying to be happy clappy, let's just coexist with the religious people, even, despite these views. And this applies to all of them, right? It applies to Judaism, it applies to Christianity, it applies to Islam, it applies to all of them, right? In the same way that theocratic people will want to have Christian morality be legislated upon, in the same way that, Muslims will want their kids not to be taught about the existence of gay people, or the fact that Jewish parents might want to break bodily autonomy and circumcise their sons at birth, for example, right? These are all things that are only justified through religious dogmatism and cannot be justified through utility. And I think that's what we need to do away. We need to make a firm line against this. If we want to truly live in a secular society, then we need to make sure that people's religious choices are their choices that do not impede upon others. I think that's important. And because I think that there is room for spirituality, there's room for religion. These things are all important for people's own personal stuff. But when it starts interacting with other people, we have to put our foot down. And the left have been too permissive of this stuff because the new atheist type people are incredibly fucking cringe, and they have not been looked upon fondly in the history of, I guess, YouTube kind of politics and stuff like that. But in trying to move away from the edgy atheist stuff, I think we've been too permissive of the kind of religious bigotry that can be allowed to fester and create the situations that we have now. Yes, exactly. There's room for religion, but it needs to be decentralized. 100%, 100%. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. It does help out the channel and the algorithm. And if you click the bell notification icon, it will let you know when I go live and when I upload videos. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my handle is @NoJusticeMTG, and that is Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. If you want to support my channel in a more financial manner, you can do so by becoming a member for just 99p, by super chatting, or by supporting me on Patreon, with the link is in the description of this video. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next segment.